What if you could do a project that was crocheting, knitting, and quilting all in the same project? Does that sound fun? That is what we're doing for this week's video. It is a combination of granny squares crochet, knitting on your knitting machine, and a classic quilt design called log cabin. Why would you want to do crocheting, knitting, and quilting? Crocheting is great when you are sitting on a plane, waiting at the doctor's office, or just relaxing on the couch. It's a very relaxing yarn therapy in my mindset. But it takes a very long time, and if you want to crochet a whole blanket, it's going to take a couple weeks or a month probably, depending on how much spare time you have for crocheting. So we add knitting machine. When we do the knitting machine and add these knitting machine strips, now we can make a blanket in a couple days instead of a couple weeks to a month. And then why quilting? Because this is no straight plain stockinette blanket. This is a beautiful, complex design. It actually looks a lot harder than it is because it's a beautiful quilt design based on the log cabin quilt. So let's get at it. Here's the yarns I'll be using. I love this mandala ombre yarn, especially this beautiful bright color. It's called Happy. And this yarn, it's not the cheapest because this roll is $9 something, but it feels wonderful. It's great to work with. It works great in the machines. And it only takes 2 of these to make this blanket, so it's worth it. I started out trying it with a red heart yarn that was similarly colored, but it just does not feel the same. It made a blanket that felt plastic, and this makes a really nice blanket. And I love the way this is a variegated. It's not just solid color. So that's that. And for the white, I'm using Bernat Softy Baby. This is supposedly a number 4, but to me, it's a 3. So that is why I'm using a number 3 with it, because as you can see, they're the same. All right, but the knitting is all going to be done with the mandala. Okay, so here's the pieces you're going to knit. You're going to knit 4 pieces of 32 rows, then 4 pieces of 47 rows, then 4 pieces of 77 rows, and then 4 pieces of 47 rows. All right, first thing you're gonna do is cast on your waste yarn. Make it a nice contrasting color. Trust me, you will be so glad you did. Now we're going. You want to do your knitting in order. So in other words, you're going to use this guide. I'm going to put this on the screen. You can get the full pattern with instructions by clicking the link in the description below. If you are using this mandala yarn, make sure you go in the order of the arrows, starting at the middle and then going around, following the arrows to the outside. That way you'll get the nice ombre effect in your strips. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna reset my counter. Okay, since I've already knit 4 32 row pieces and 4 47 row pieces and 3 of my 77 row pieces, now I'm going to be knitting a 77 row piece. And when I start adding, I always make sure, again, this one's pulled under, that one's pulled under, and then I give this a little tug because I find it helps it to not pop off when we get around. And only tie it once because this is waste yarn, but it does help keep it from making a hole and if you tie it. And then just like always, first row we're going to go a a little bit slower and make sure, especially when we come right here, that this one stays down. And usually when you tighten it like I showed you, Tao, it'll stay down just like it just did. Okay, there's one. And we're gonna do 75. Whew, this is definitely a bicep workout. I wish I had my little adapter so I could use my hand motor right now. At 50 rows is when mine starts to touch the table. So I'm gonna go, and on the 22 machine, I always roll it this way, not up in the middle. I just find that works better for the 22 needle machine, rather than rolling it where the turtleneck is on the inside, it's on the outside. Here we go, 25 more. $24, $75. I'll cut, leaving a little tail. Put it in the middle. In there, and I got my waist yarn again. Put 5 or 6 rows here. Again, I'm going to watch and make sure it's pulled in. Once. Cut the yarn and keep turning till it falls off the machine. Sometimes you gotta help out a little bit if it gets stuck. And there we have it. Just pull this out, give it a good little stretch. Oh, I love this yarn. It is so beautiful. It looks so like bohem. All right, so now we have our strip. So follow the guide and knit all your strips, and I'll show you what to do with them. Okay, now as you can see, I have all my pieces knitted. And I kind of kept them in order so that it can go around with the ombre, but it wouldn't be hard to tell if not, because like, you know, this one ends orange, so you know that one's going to be next, and then it ends green, so you know that one's going to be next. So you did get it mixed up, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but I have them laid out in order. And now comes the fun part that you can do slow or fast. You can do the crocheting when you're relaxing, or you can crank it out and get it done. So next step, crocheting. When I'm deconstructing this so that I can get the separate colors, I love doing a center pull ball. So here's how you do that. Wind a few times this way, a few times this way, then turn it toward you, not away, or else it'll squeeze your thumb. See, 4 times that diagonal, 4 times this diagonal, or so. Twist. Keep going round and round like that. And then at the end, you're going to wrap around the middle a couple times, and there's your center pull. What you don't want to do is this. Let's stay in the middle, shall we? What you don't want to do is this or this, because that's around your thumb, but it's not around the ball. You always want it to be diagonal, or around the middle is fine too if you need to get there. That's how you deconstruct the mandala cake to use the separate colors. Just finishing up this green one. You see I'm going to wrap around the middle a few times, Now it's turning blue. Cut that. Okay, at the end you just wrap it around and tuck it in. It helps to use a crochet hook. Get that tucked in. And then pull it off your thumb. And there's your center pole ball. And that's how I take them all apart so I can use the separate colors separately. Here comes the fun crochet part. Okay, so here's my first 30 row strip. First thing I'm going to do is find the ends here, and I'm going to fold it in half right there. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that is right there. Now, it is going to be important when we're crocheting that this is not twisted, so I'm going to use some stitch markers to keep me kind of honest, right? So here's where this one's coming out. So this is going to be my side row. There's going to be a row on the side. And then you're going to be able to count 10 full stitches, or 20 bars if you want. See how this looks like a full one is showing? That's not what we want. It's like this. We want to only see half that stitch on the side. And then we want, you can count 20 bars or 10 full stitches. I find 20 bars easier to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And here's our last side stitch. So I'm going to put a marker there. Through that, through the whole stitch, because that's the other side too now. And the reason why this is important is because if there's more stitches on this side than this side, obviously this is not going to be folded in half well. And if you get off and it twists, that's going to be bad. So now we're going to line this up and mark that. All right, and we're going to leave those on while we're crocheting around, just to make sure that we keep this on the right rows and flat. All right, so the first thing is, this is where you're going to end, right? So we're going to, just like you always do, match these up so that we can crochet them together. So these two, see, these two are going to go together, those two, and this will help you to know where to start on this end. Those two are going together, those two are going together, and these are the last two right here. So that's where I'm going to put my hook in, and the contrasting yarn makes it really easy to see your stitches. And you're just going to pull this one into this one. Now I go to this side and count these, because you want to make sure you get all 22. So that was 1, 2, 22, and then you pull the end through. Okay, super. Now what I do to just make it a little bit easier so it doesn't get tangled is I just pull this to the other side of the waste yarn, because now we're going to pull off this waste yarn. And that's why it's so important to make sure you don't skip any stitches, because if you skipped any, then when you pulled the waste yarn off, you'd have dropped stitches. All right, you're going to do that on all ends of all your strips. Or if you want to do each strip at a time, you can go on to the next part and do one strip at a time. One thing, if you are newish to the knitting machine, to know is that one side's always going to pull off easy without doing anything, but on one side you're going to have this, which is, do you see this yarn that's going all through around the top? You got to pull that one out first. So first I do that, and then I'm going to, sometimes I'll actually untie it, but usually if I just do it this way, it won't work. Just putting it down through here and pulling it, because we don't want that little knot. Yeah, see, that pulled it down just fine. We just want a corner. We don't want that knot sticking up because it does tend to poke through. When you crochet around that. Same thing for this one. Just go down and through. And just tug it till it kind of goes down. It doesn't have a sticking up knot there.
Now we're ready to add the granny clusters all around the edges of the strips. So here, I'm going to show you exactly how, but here is the numbers for each of the type of strips. On the 32 row pieces, you can see there's 7 clusters on the sides. On the 47 row pieces, there's 12 clusters on the sides, and on the 77 row pieces, there's 20 clusters on the sides. So I'm going to show you step by step how to do this, but if you want to screenshot this can be a guide for you to know how many clusters to put on each strip.
By the way, I am using a G size hook, if I didn't say that already. And if you're wondering where I got this hook, I just put some Fimo clay on it and baked it in the oven because I have such a hard time seeing the letters on them. So I decided to take it in my own hands and make a little handle. I like to start with a standing double crochet. It just looks so much better than a chain. So how you do that is hold the end like that on your hook, yarn over, go in the center, pull up. I'm trying to look in my camera. I need to look at what I'm doing. Okay, pull up a loop. So now you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That is a standing double crochet, and it looks more like a double crochet than chaining. And then just bring this around and it'll hide the little start there, and just crochet right over it. So granny cluster corner is 3 double crochets, 2, 3. I like to just wrap that around to get it the end stuck in there, and then 2 chains. I just wrap the end to get it stuck in there when I'm doing it. 1, 2. You only have to do that when you first start, and then you don't have to weave this in later because it's already weaved in. So 3 double crochet, chain 2, another 3 double crochet, now I've wrapped this around enough times that I can cut off the extra, and it's all weaved in already. There is my granny cluster corner. 3 double crochet, 2 chains, 3 double crochet, and I've already got the end worked in, so I don't have to do anything with that later. All right, now what we're going to do on the ends is we're going to put 2 double crochets evenly spaced, and we're going to do them loosely, because if you don't, it tends to do that. So we're just going to do it loosely, and the stitch count doesn't matter as much as just evenly spaced 2, because that's what's going to make it line up with your granny square, because there's 2 corner to corner, right? So I'm just gonna go right about here, and I'm gonna do a nice, I'm gonna kind of pull it up so it's a nice loose one, so that it doesn't sag in the middle. And the reason is because normally you would put more than 2 on the end, and that then it wouldn't sag, but we are making it match the granny square. So that's why just on the ends, do your clusters kind of loose. See, and that makes it not sag. It makes it nice and straight across. Now we're going to do another corner. Go in the corner, 3, 2, chain 3, double crochet. Now, here's something really important. As I said, we're going to have an edge stitch, right? This is our edge stitch. All along the edge is going to be one stitch. And we're going to have an edge stitch here. And in between are 10 full stitches, or 20 bars if you want to look at it that way. You want to make sure that you mark this, because if it twists, it's not going to look good. So that is correct. Okay, now let's continue our crocheting here. And now we can be sure that we're doing it in this row, not this row, which is what I was about to do, and it would have made it uneven. All right, so 2 or 3 double crochet, 2 chain, 3 double crochet. And now we're going to do our ones across the side. So here's my marker. I'm on this 47 one. You're going to skip 2, skip 3, skip 3, skip 2, skip 3, skip 3. So I'm going to skip 2, make sure I'm on the right row here. I lost my row when I was figuring out the counts. The row is, yes, right here is my row. Okay, here is my row. Okay, so I'm going to skip 2. You can't really see it, but that's 2. Now I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3. And skip 3. 1, 2, 3. I did skip 2, skip 3, skip 3. So now I'm going to repeat that. Skip 2. So I did skip 2, skip 3, skip 3, skip 2, skip 3, skip 3. Back to skip 2. 1, 2. And I keep going down there till I get to the next corner. Skip 2, skip 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Corner, which is 3, 2, 3 in the corner, 2 loose ones on the end, 3, 2, 3 in the corner. Same thing on the other side. Skip 2, skip 3, skip 3. And actually on this side you're going to do it backwards. You're going to go skip 3, skip 3, skip 2. That'll make them line up nicely. And then join it at the end. And just make sure you count when you're down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because the stitch count doesn't matter. What matters is that you have 12 evenly spaced down the side. And then you're going to go in the corner again making sure that this is the row you're on, but really though you can kind of stab it anywhere in the corner as long as you're staying on the right line. And you're just going to do the 3 double crochet, 2 chain, 3 double crochet, then 2 clusters loosely, and same thing down the side. And that's it for all these. Go around all of those and show the graphic again to show you how many go on each one. All right, and at the end, since we did this nice standing double crochet, we just go right into the top of that first standing double crochet, slip stitch to join. And here's one more trick. So if you want a really nice finish, you could do a duplicate stitch, but when you're finishing off a bunch of motifs like this, it could take a long time to finish all those off with a duplicate stitch because you got to go get your needle, thread it, all that. Here's how I do it. That gives it a nice finish without the duplicate stitch. See, if you just left it like that, you'd kind of see, you know, you could possibly see the knot, but here's what I do. Go from front to back and pull it forward, because what that does is it makes the knot go to the back. If you pull it back, if you pull the end to the back, the knot comes to the front. So pull it to the front so the knot goes to the back, and then you just go in the next stitch over and you pull the end back to the back. And that makes it have a nice finish. You don't see the knots back here, so you don't really see it. So that's a quicker way than doing a duplicate stitch to finish those off.
Here's how you make a granny square. Maybe screenshot this. It's pretty easy. If you need an in-depth tutorial, I do have a 9.5 or so minute tutorial on how to make a granny square, and that is in the description. But otherwise, this is pretty straightforward crochet.
Now to put our pieces together. This is so fun. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start in the center, and that's why I gave you a little guide. Here's mine, and I started the center because the ombre yarn, how they come off, they go like this, and so as it turns into the next color, I want it to be going around like this. So that's how come I did it in order. You could also just make a decision. I think I made a decision then when it was all laid out to put like the red, blue over here and the green, orange over there. So you can do it any way you want, but keep that in mind if you want it to go in order of that it's coming off of an ombre cake, that you need to start in the middle and go, because it's like it's a spiral kind of thing. I'm going to put these together, and we're just going to match this to this, this to this, but we're only going to go through the outside loops, not both of them. So if you look at this, you can see this one has, is it focusing? Here we go. See how there's this stitch has two and this has two. We're only going to get the outside ones because we want to leave the inside bar to make that nice little line around it like this. You don't have to, you can go through both and it will just not make that line, but I think that looks nice that way, so that's how I'm going to do it. Just make sure you're lining up. This is the corner stitch, so I have to make sure I'm going into the corner stitch, right? So I'm going to start with this chain stitch, and I'm going to go just on the outside stitch and the outside of this chain stitch and slip stitch. Just pull through all the loops. Now I'm in this first of the 3 stitches. I'm going to just get the outside of the stitch, not the inside. And then I'm going to go to the first of these 3 stitches over here on the other side, just the outside, pull it through. Now I'm going to do the middle stitch to the middle stitch and ends of the corner stitch to the end of the corner stitch. Pull it through. Okay, and you're just going to keep doing that. Got 3 stitches. I'm going to go the outside of it to the outside of this one. Middle stitch to the middle. End stitch to the end stitch. First to the first. Middle to the middle. And third to the third. You're just going to keep going around like that. Don't get this too tight. Kind of do it loosely. Middle
stitch to the middle stitch, again only catching the outside stitches. You can see that's what this does when you just catch the outside stitches. See, it makes it just really pretty. And third stitch to the third stitch, and then the chain, just the outside to just the outside of the chain, and then going to that, pull it through. Now we just did that. Now you're going to just go all the way around, following the crochet guide of where you place the rectangles, and then you'll have it all together, and I'll show you how to go around the edge. On long pieces, you're going to want to just use some stitch markers to just mark periodically across it, because for the most part you're going to be lining up the clusters, but because this takes a little bit more room, it's going to be a little off in here, but as long as you're in here too. So it's not exactly cluster to cluster, but for the most part it is, and what matters is just that the ends end up together, and for the most part it's going to be cluster to cluster, but there'll be a little fudging around in here. As long as it's evenly spaced, then it's all good. Okay, now I just went around the whole thing with a row of granny clusters. So anywhere you have a corner, you're going to put a granny cluster in the corner, which like this, which is 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and on every other space you're just going to do a granny cluster, which is just 3 double crochet, no chains in between there. And then when you get to this part, what you're going to do, well, first of all I got to do this one, granny cluster in there, 3 double crochets. Okay, now for this we are going to, you can see these are 2 corners that are up against each other, right? We're going to skip this corner space and we're going to do a granny cluster. Just going to stick it right in the middle of this, just stick it right in the middle, and you're going to do your granny cluster right there in that in between, right in the middle there. Just poke it in. Okay, and then you're going to skip this other corner and you're going to go on to the next space and do your cluster. See, so you're going to skip this corner space and just stick it right in the middle of there, and you're going to skip this corner space. That way it just puts one right in the middle here, and that will make it come out right in the end. So go all the way around there and then slip stitch to the beginning, and then we can change colors, and I'm going to do a couple rows of some different colors. And now I'm going to do a color row, and all you're going to do, it's super simple now because all you have is granny clusters. Everywhere there's a space you're going to do a granny cluster, and which is just 3 double crochet, and everywhere there's a corner you're going to put in a corner, which is 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Okay, so this blanket is almost done and I'm loving how it looks. I did 1 row of white granny clusters, like I said, putting the one in the middle. Then I just did 1 row of the whatever came off the spool. So it actually started out orange and then it turned to this color. Just let it kind of change as it would, and that was just 1 in every space. Then I did 1 more row of just a granny cluster in each space. Then I did 1 row of single crochet of the whatever was coming off of the mandala cake, and then I did 1 row, and that is just 1 in every single stitch, no spaces, just 1 in every stitch. And in the corners I put 3 single crochet in the corner, and then same thing, I went all the way around, just 1 in every stitch and 3 single crochet in the middle stitch. And now here's the last part that gives it the cute blubby kind of scallop
bubbly almost border. So here's the right side, right? I just finished going all the way around and joined with my single crochets. I'm going to flip it to the other side. And I'm going to do, this is so simple, but it looks so cute when it's done. I'm just going to do one double crochet in the next stitch. And this is on the wrong side, that's important. And then the next stitch, you slip stitch. And that's it. Double crochet in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Double crochet in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Oop, that was a single. Slip. Double. And slip. Now look at the front side. It's so cute. Gives such a cute, simple, bobbly border. And you don't have to do anything different around the corner. Just keep doing one double crochet, one slip, one double crochet all the way around. And since we put those extras in there, it makes it come out great. This blanket is probably going to need some blocking. It will just make it look so nice if you block it. This is a great tool. It is a constant spray. You pump it up and then you can have, you know, a constant spray. And I love this for blocking. It works so great. And also these are an absolute necessity. So I just spray it and then I use, these are my favorite blocking pins. Came off, here we go. Knitter's Pride knit blockers, and they are, I'm holding my phone right now. They are awesome. These work so good. You just block it and you let it dry and it'll be nice and flat. So that's the next step. See, when you're blocking, you're just, and that's why these are so great because they have lines on them. You're just going to pull it over so that it's nice and square and straight. And you're just going to poke your little pins in there. And when it dries, it'll be all nice and flat and smooth. All right, it's all blocked and ready to be done. So here is our final blanket. I think it is the perfect baby stroller size. And you can make this any size you want just by keeping going and adding more and more strips around. I really like this size for a baby and it's very soft. And so I hope you enjoyed making it. It was really fun for me. Please like and subscribe and we'll be seeing you soon. Much love always.